You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more.
Well, Power mi gente. It's your boy Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, we got a legend on the scene, baby. He's an inker, he's a comic book writer, and he's about to be stepping into one of my favorite universes. That's right, with Image Comics and the Spawn universe with our boy Jeremy. That's how you know Jeremy? Gunslinger Spawn. All right, I bet. Maybe you know him that way. Let me introduce the man that's bringing some of that West back to my boy Gunslinger Spawn. The one, the only, the legend, Jimmy Palmiotti.
How you doing, Al? How's it going, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing good. Just I was trying to clean up the mess behind me because comic book people, we don't have enough shelves. That's all there is to it. I got comic books everywhere.
Have you seen mine? It looks organized. If you see the left side of my body, you will.
I'll do this. This is like one wall of madness, and it's just so much stuff everywhere. It's but that's what we do. We collect crap. We collect a lot of stuff, and we love it, and that's all there is to it. So
you better understand. You better get it, people. And with that, so Jimmy, thanks again for hanging out. You've been doing so much stuff, man. You've been keeping busy for sure. Through the paper films, and of course, it just announced that you're just stepping into the Spawn. Telling us some nice, good old Western stories about our favorite new introduction of a gunslinger.
Spawn. I was at New York Con like 2 years ago, and I had the editor Thomas Healy come up and start a conversation at my table, and he says, "Oh, I love Jonah Hex, what you did with Jonah Hex, and would you have any interest in working in the Spawn universe?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, man!" I said, that would be amazing. And that Thomas set up a call with Todd, and I've known Todd for a long time. I mean, I've known him over the years. We've both been in comics way too long, and so it was funny because he said. He's like, would you be able to do like an ongoing series, like and stay on it for a while? And I reminded him, I said, I did over 100 issues of Jonah Hex. So yeah, I could stay on something for a while. And then we talked about Gunslinger, and, they approached me, they said, we want to tell this story of how he became the gunslinger and set in the 1800s, in the past, and Todd said there's so many stories to tell before it ever got to where I'm doing it, because now he has obviously the gunslingers in present day.
Yeah.
So it's basically the origins. It's the origins and a ton of stories, about how he became the gunslinger, who he was, what his life was like, and then the madness of going on and what was going on in the world at that time. And then introducing also the Spawn universe of characters within the story. So there's a lot to play with. And
smile. He's like, yeah. When he says play, it's like a little kid. Like, yeah, I got ideas. All right. So let me ask you, Jimmy, what is it about these Western comic books? Do you smash them, but what is it that draws you to those characters, like the John or even a Gunslinger?
When I was a kid, so I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, right? And when I was a kid, a Western was like science fiction, right? Because it was like, we lived in a city and a neighborhood, and I've always been. So for me, it was like another world, right? Westerns were like another world, and I love the idea of the good versus evil, obviously, because we love comics. We definitely we live in that world where we look at the world that way, and as I was growing up, I was watching Westerns on TV. I loved the Clint Eastwood movies, John Wayne. I loved all that stuff. And then in the summers, I would go away to a camp upstate New York, like for kids, like not a sleepaway camp, but like a camp.
Camp, man.
and I get to ride horses, and I'd see there was woods and mountains up in New York. It was like Bear Mountain and the mountain ranges up there, and I just got a love for the idea of the world not being so built up yet, and again, living in Brooklyn, it was all apartment buildings and there's history, and it's been there it's a concrete jungle. And I love the idea of the open room. I think because I lived in a small house, I had 4 brothers, the 4 boys, and I never had alone time, and there was no big open plains, and there was no sense of being alone. And so a lot of it attracted me. And then I love the idea of a time where people were, they were still exploring uncharted places. And it's just fascinating with the time frame. So I've always been interested in that. And then, and then as a kid, I picked up the Jonah Hex comics from DC.
Oh, nice.
And I fell in love with that character. And eventually I got known as a guy that can write Westerns, which was, okay, that's cool. But I did a lot of research. It's also a lot of, I went to ranches. I rode horses. I've done a lot of this stuff, and it's just one of those things. I stumbled into it, but I do love writing Westerns.
Hey man, so you telling me it's even cowboy bro riding them horses and all, man? You be wrangling?
Yeah, I know. I can't wrangle cattle. I've never done that, but I've ridden horses. I've been on ranches, and I've shot guns, but I'm not a big gun fan. I'm not like I don't mind guns in comics, but in the real world, I'm kind of little.
We can't heal and come back like a Marvel. I hear you. So wait.
Yeah, I mean, I also love, and I've worked on them so many times. I also love characters like the Punisher. I've kind of related to the guy that, yeah, it's kind of like a driven, person thinking they're doing the right thing in a world that may or may not judge them the same way they see themselves is always an interesting part of comics.
Yeah, before I move on to the next comic question, now I'm curious. Do you want to try and wrangle?
You get older and you realize that it's a little tougher in the world, to wrangle things. You can only fix the world around you pretty much, and that's how you have to look at things. Like if I can do the right thing myself and then help people around me, you hope it's going to be contagious, and you hope other people do the same thing. And, you set an example, like any parent, right? You set an example for your kids, and you hope your kids bring the values into their world. So
let me ask, I was just going to differentiate with Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger. How does it differentiate from any other Western tales you've done so far? Where did you dig?
Well, the difference is, so the Spawn universe is established, and the other thing is with Todd's books, especially with Gunslinger, he's established. We're how many books in with Todd's character? So I've been reading them as they come out because the stuff he says, he references the past, and I have to grab all of that when I'm writing this book, because continuity wise, I'm sort of filling in a lot of empty gaps in the past. And so when Todd writes the character now and he says something like, it's not like this tip of the Grand Canyon where I killed somebody. Well, I have to write that down and go, okay, I have to write a story where he kind of killed the guy at the tip of the Grand Canyon. I have to kind of constantly stay after what Todd is doing. But at the same time, there's a lot about the Gunslinger people reading the comic don't know. Mm-hmm. Because they're dealing with him in the modern day. Todd writes him. He was pulled out of the past.
Yeah, you only got 2 issues of him, if you will, in the past. Early introduction, and that's
there's not a lot, and there's some backstories that were in the first issue. If you remember, there was a backstory, and so all of that is part of a gigantic map I did building this character up, and how. My stories I'm telling, they're all different stories about him when he first becomes the Gunslinger and how he has to deal with that, because he has no idea at some point what the hell is going on, like why things are happening to him, and he's trying to figure out. So there's a lot of world building, and there's a lot of backstory to the character we'll be telling
Oof.
in the book, and it's only gonna help make what Todd's doing even richer, because obviously Todd reads every single thing I do and takes it apart. This is a man who is hands-on with his characters in every way you can think possible. I mean,
I've met him, I've spoken with him, and yeah, I totally see that type of energy. Now, Jim, I gotta ask here. So, are there any challenges then in merging how Todd had that modern day character, Gunslinger Spawn, and then with you bringing him back and setting him back into the 1800s?
Yeah, there's a lot, because the character you see is the result of a lot of the stories I have to write. So the way he acts, I have to kind of explain where that's coming from in his past. So,
so Jim, you're building the juice here, baby.
I'm coming after the big man. I mean, Todd's really got a vision, and I'm really happy because he trusts me to go in there and do some things. When he first hired me, him and Thomas hired me, I wrote a Bible for the character, meaning here's where his parents came from, here's where his family is, here's what happened when he was in his teens. And this document started, it was like, I think it's like 60 something pages now.
Jeez.
And I handed it to them and I said, this is what I see for his childhood. And Todd's like, yeah, okay, just change that and fix that and move that there, and we're good to go. And so for me, I have to know everything about him in order to write him. You know what I mean? So I had to write this giant Bible. Yeah, I had to write this giant Bible.
Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I didn't create the characters, so I have to make sure everything is, it's kind of odd. It's sort of like working for any big company. You have to know as much as you can about the character to write him. And in this instance, it's like it's all Todd, it's all what he sees. So, and I do introduce some new things in the books, but like I said, nothing is done without him going, okay, that's that, and that's good. Even with artists, we had to find somebody like Patric Reynolds, who's doing the book. We had to find somebody that was not Todd. We didn't want it to have the same look as his other books, like Todd or anybody else doing the other books. So with Patric Reynolds, we got a look that is completely different. It's very grounded. I think you had one of the drawings that he did. It's a little more grounded, I would say.
I got two images here.
Yeah.
That I found. Right. So
say hi to Chuck Saturday.
This bad boy right here.
Okay. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I mean, Patric is fantastic, but it's a little less, I want to say less superhero-y, less bouncy, less kind of like all over the place and more grounded in reality. I mean, it's funny because the hat makes me laugh because it's this giant hat he has. I always pictured that he would take a hat off and his head was shaped like that, but it's not.
I see this hat. I think about Pharrell. Doesn't he have a hat like this?
Yeah.
And then I found this image as well. Oh my!
Yeah, we did that for San Diego as a giveaway. It was like a bunch of prints. But yeah, so he's handling it. It's a little bit different than the regular titles, and I think it's really smart of Todd and Thomas to kind of let that go in a different direction, because I think it has a feeling of being in the past, yet it's like happening day one, And when you get the first issue, if you've never read Gunslinger, you're gonna get an origin and what happens. So for anybody that's never read the book before, they can pick up Gunslinger 1 and they'll get the information they need to move forward. They're not going to be like completely lost, because
wonderful. I'm
a believer in every new book is going to have some new people reading it, so you have to give them a little backstory.
Just a tad, even.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, brother. I love that. So how do you approach this now? Because the supernatural elements now you're messing with some magic and all that goodness that Gunslinger Spawn. I mean, in a traditional Western, how do you play with these things?
So the supernatural aspects are more creepy in this book.
Okay.
Like they're not like in your face. Like all of a sudden somebody you think is one thing is actually another. And he has a supernatural world around him, but it's not brazenly walking around and it's kind of hiding and laying low, and it's a lot creepier. So the main character in the beginning doesn't understand why he's been chosen or why he is, and things around him. It's sort of like if you were colorblind and then you put on glasses and you can see color, so you see the world differently.
Okay.
And when he becomes the gunslinger, it's like a veil has been lifted and he starts to see the world around him just a little bit off. And because of that, he's starting to notice things he was unaware of his whole life. And these things are not good things. And
basically, he wakes up, you know.
Yeah, he kind of like, you know, all of a sudden he'll go like in a whorehouse, let's say, and like he'll see all the prostitutes sitting there, but one of them will be looking at him weird, and he's like, something's up with that person over there. Like, yeah. And he's gained this sixth sense that things are not right in the world he's in.
This is evil.
And why is it following him, and why is it after him? And a lot of that is to build up the character to the gunslinger we see today in Todd's book. So there's a lot to explore. As I told the guys, I said, you know, I can easily do 100 issues of this. No problem. Because
you want 300, Jimmy. You want we're
going to celebrate when I do 101. I'm going to come back here with you, Alan. We're going to talk about the next 100 issues. I hope.
You mean, bro, the way you smash these westerns, I'm sure, and you know, if Todd, as I understand it, you know, with that free, that, you know, with check marks, but the creative freedom to have some fun, because you're building something, Jimmy, and with your history, I know we guaranteed something.
Yeah, I think you know, I think Todd, the character's a great character, and I love the idea of seeing Todd expand the characters in his world. I know there'll be a Spawn movie soon, and another Spawn movie soon, and I also know eventually there's going to be a Gunslinger Spawn, because that's just a natural spinoff. And
you should be in there. You got the Derby already. Why not? You know what I mean?
So, little Derby, yeah. So, you know, I had a hat with Bigfoot on before, but I thought with this interview I'll put the Derby on.
Man, looking good, but you're almost looking like Clark Kent, my brother. Wait,
let me 1 second. Let me fix that. Then I'm gonna fix that. You think I look like Clark Kent? That's no good. You know.
They're gonna take care of this. He goes, I don't know, bro. Wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute, yo. Wait, where's Jimmy?
There you go. I lose the glasses. I can.
Yo, bro, it's Jimmy Eastwood right here, and you better watch out, man.
Hey, these are good. They keep the rain off you, man. This hat. It's like,
I gotta try one of those hats. You know, my
you
brother
never tried
John's. I haven't tried one.
When they fit right, they feel great. Like you know, when it fits right. But you have to get it fit. You can't. You got to get a right kind of fit. You know, it's like a baseball cap. You ever buy some of the caps and like they're like you put them on, you're like, no.
This is fitted. This is custom. You know what I mean?
Oh, there you go. I'll make it.
This is fitted. It fits my head nice. Anybody else try it, they say that I have a big head.
Yeah, I got to do this.
All right. So okay, look. This is the perfect look now for the Gunslinger. Okay. So, is there any specific, you know, research, historical references, or even maybe actors that you kind of were inspired by to tell the early journey of our boy Jeremy? You know.
Yeah. So I've done a deep dive into the history of from 1800 from 1810 to 1905 in that time zone, right? So we have the Civil War in there, obviously, Civil War in the 1860s. But also what was happening in the world, because you know, trains were making their way west. There was issues with Indians. Obviously, there's a lot of history going on in the 1800s. A lot of things changing. You know, slavery being abolished, and a lot of the world was changing when this character was coming up from when he was young. And actually, I do cover some of the stuff with the parents before they came to America.
Okay.
And it has everything to do with who our character is. And so I did my research about where people were coming from and also where they were landing in the United States. A lot of people were landing up in Nova Scotia and Canada and then working their way back into the United States. There's a lot. I love the idea of the backdrop of history without beating the reader over the head saying this is what happened.
Yeah.
I think naturally, once you know all that information in your writing, you can integrate it into the story where it isn't a thing that gets in the way. It's actually a fascinating aspect of the story. And of course, in the 1800s, medicine went from, if we have an open wound, pour dirt in it, to all of a sudden, no, we need to clean a wound, right? Because Civil War during the Civil War, there was conflicting rules with medicine, and that's why so many people lost limbs, because the medicine back then was messed up. They didn't know what they were doing, and sterilization was just coming into fashion for medicine. So the world was changing in so many different ways, and so being the backdrop of our main character, you get a sense of, okay, like, everyone there is just trying to figure out the world they're in, because it's the new world, right? The United States was a new place for these people. And then there were people that weren't letting go of traditional, where they came from, the traditions of where they came from. And the gunslinger has to navigate his way. And he has a couple of motivations while he's doing it, but he also has family when he was younger. He had a mother and father and a sister, and it has a lot to do with who he is. And again, Todd covers it in some of the books. And he even tells the origin somewhat in one of the books. And I dissect Todd's origin and blow it up a little bigger so we can see it from different points of view. Because, he teases it in his own book, where we're going to explore it in the series. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time.
So did you guys have, did you work, did you meet Patric? I mean, how did you guys even come together? How's that work?
Patric and I, we deal with Zoom, right? We've talked on Zoom. I haven't met him yet, and I probably will at some convention this year, obviously, because we're both getting out there. But I haven't met him, but I did love his work. He was doing some work on some other books that I liked. And when we had to pick an artist for the book, I needed the right person, the person that understood that it shouldn't look modern. It should look a little raw looking, and and Gunslinger is a tough, and is a tough character. And he should be looking like a badass whenever you can manage it. And Patric came in with this beautiful black and white work, and we're like, oh my God, man, this guy, it's like, he's got the wolves, he's got the two wolves there, and it's this, again, the terrain, it's a different world. It's gonna be, like I said, people like the Gunslinger book. I think you're gonna love this, because it's definitely seeing him in the world that he came from, and Patric was the right guy, man. I mean, you look at artists, we could choose from 100 different artists, because there's a lot of people want to do it, but Patric brought something that we didn't see in the other artists, and he's already working, I think, on a second and third issue. Because the first issue is a pretty big issue, actually. There's a lot of material in it.
Oh my gosh. Folks, you better stay tuned. This isn't coming out anytime soon, folks.
No, it'll be in the summer. And it'll be in the summer. I mean, our job is to get it done, at least 6 or 8 issues in the can before the first issue comes out. Because Todd, with Todd's books, they're not late.
No, they're not.
They're not late. And,
one of the very few comic book companies out there, guys, period, creators, not a big book ever. I have a complete run, you know what I mean, of Spawn and the Gunslingers and everything. I got them all. I'm a fan. And why? It's consistent. I go when I need them, they're there. You know what I mean? Thank you, Todd, for that consistency.
Well, he also manages to keep the price down on the books too.
Yes. Unlike other companies, I mean, have you seen the difference between a direct and a newsstand? It's almost a $2 to $3 difference sometimes.
Well, and also they don't use like a cover stock, and it's Todd has a vision of what he wants his books to do and how he wants them to look, and he's very particular. Obviously he also does the toys, and they're very particular and detail oriented as well. So he's a guy that understands. He's a fan first, So I always find that people that are fans tend to make things more lovingly than other people do, than business people. And I'm a huge comic book fan, and I fuss over every little detail, the coloring, the printing, the lettering. I want the paper stock right. And when I put out my Kickstarters, I make sure the paper is perfect. I'm really picky about things. But I think the thing with that is that we just feel like the product, the book itself, deserves to be treated better with more respect.
Yes.
And you'll find the big corporations, they don't really care. They got just putting out a bunch of junk, and after a while, nobody cares about it.
Question about that. And again, listen, they reboot every 5 years. There comes a point that it's just no longer for us. You know what, guys? Let go. It's okay. Don't get angry. Listen, Jimmy, through this one, go visit this website right here, paperfilms.com. Let me tell you, there's stuff for you there. Like, now that you're grown up, guys.
Yes. Yeah. It's not for the kids, although I do have one or two, but most of it's for adults. I'm an adult making comics. I still read comics, so I want them written for me. I don't want them written for a 12-year-old. That's not the book I'm buying,
Thank you, Jimmy. And that's why some of our modern collectors need to understand, some stories are just not going to be for us anymore, and it's okay.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Look, what do I care? I think Disney should come out with 1 million movies. I don't care. Yeah. It doesn't bother me. I just want my type of material too.
Yeah, absolutely. We all want just our material too. Everybody have fun. Just make us happy too. You know what? I mean, there's good stuff out there coming out.
There's a lot of great stuff.
That new Godzilla from the Toho, like from the OG. Holy shit!
I mean, it's funny because I was at the comic store earlier today, and one of the young guys working there is like, "Yeah, I didn't like the new Godzilla," and I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, it's so much story with this guy and his wife," and I'm like,
"That's the fucking point,
right?" And I'm like, "Oh." Well, I told him, I said, you didn't find it fascinating how Japan had to deal with losing the war and how they were trying to rebuild. You didn't find that fascinating? I found it fascinating. It's a story I never heard. And about the kamikaze flyer and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, there was plenty of Godzilla in it. There was plenty of story of them, and they tied up really great. I thought it was fantastic. And he's like, I thought it was slow. And I'm like, you know what? You can't watch 10-second TikToks for the rest of your life, man. You got to sit in that chair and let a story unfold. And understand when you see Godzilla, it's something special. You shouldn't see him every minute of the movie, and he shouldn't be like the new one with Kong. He shouldn't be running like a jogger. It's like this Godzilla was frightening.
It was Godzilla.
It was Godzilla. When they were in the boat and you just see his head pop up with the spikes. I was like, whoa, man, it's like Jaws right now. It's like, get out of there.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of great Godzilla. We got that. The Monarch series is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, Matt, I can't wait. Are we going to get some monsters on our Gunslinger verse on that scale, Jimmy?
Yeah, we have some in Gunslingers. There are some monsters in that world. There are monsters that exist in that world that are no longer with us, that only exist in the 1800s. So we're going to see them pop up, and we're going to see him deal with them. And there's a reason why they're not around now, because we got a good guy, good gunslinger back then, taking him off the planet at that point. There's a little bit. Look, there's a little bit of everything. I on the series, we touch in with obviously the history, the character, but also the idea that some of these towns are not there anymore, and there's a reason why they're not there anymore. And there's some people that are looking for the gunslinger as well, and we get into that. But there's some really bad people in this world, and that's why the gunslinger is needed. And
that's why I wore my sheriff's vest today. You know what I mean? I got my comic crew badge going, and I'm ready to team up. Sheriff Palmiotti, I'll be a deputy.
That's right. I think this is a good look. I'm thinking maybe I should wear this at cons. What do you think?
No. I like it, Jim. For real, bro. You got it. You know what?
What I'll do is I won't shave for like a week or two, so I'll get this really scruffy looking thing.
Yeah,
Although
but you guys look like the Marlboro Man minus the cigarettes.
Yeah, my teeth are a little too white, but we could mess it up. I'll eat some chocolate before I go out. I'm trying to think of what else I would have on me. But it's a fun look, but it's I'm the last I'm the last guy should wear a cowboy hat living. Although I'm in Florida, it is like the Wild West here, so
Well, now we got to get you the rope, and you can wrangle up some alligator.
That's it. I let the I got right down the street. I have alligators. I leave them alone. They got their spot. I got my spot. We don't mix it up.
You just nod your head to keep on moving.
In the morning I walk by them and I just tip my hat and then I keep.
You're safe, homie. You're safe, homie. Thank you. All right, so I know we were talking a lot of Gunslinger, but like you said, you mentioned your Kickstarters and all. What's popping in the paper films universe before we go, man? I need to know.
All right. So
wait a minute. Wait. Let me put you on first.
Okay.
What we're gonna do is make this look even sexier, baby. Hey, look at that. Woo!
So this was my last Kickstarter. It's called The Hunters, and it was another Western I did with Chad Hardin was the artist on it, who I worked on with. There's some beautiful stuff in here.
Oh, look at those colors, that art. Look at those paneling.
The colorist is Alex Sinclair, who is Jim Lee's colorist, and Chad Hardin's the penciler. And there's the back cover. How cool is that?
Oh, wow! Who that?
That's a photo. The designer John J. Hill supplied that. Plus, we got a nice credits page where we have
Oh wow! Look at that. Well,
yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, and I see JT Ready here wants to make a comment before I head off.
Hold on. Let's see who we got here. Go ahead, JT.
JT,
go ahead.
Lay it on us, buddy.
Lay it on us.
But no, that was my last Kickstarter. I have a new one coming in January called Fantasima. It's like a jungle girl type thing that takes place in Chile and
Chile.
And then the end of the year, I'm doing. You ever go to the Humble Bundle?
I know Humble Bundle. They do great stuff, especially during the holidays.
Well, right before the new year, we have something coming from Humble Bundle. I'm not allowed to talk about it yet. I'm just saying it's coming.
What a sexy tease over here, folks! Time coming.
Yeah.
Hands off. I'm not one of those watching titles. When he said it's coming, and I know he'll let us know real quick. But this is where you can listen with Christmas.
Yeah. So Al, if you go to paperfilms.com, a little pop-up happens, and you can subscribe to our mailer, and we send out like maybe 1 or 2 a month tops, but it gives you a list of what we got coming. It shows some of Amanda's artwork, and then we also like we'll give like discounts for the website, and we'll make you aware of the next Kickstarter and everything. All right, let's see what JT has to say.
He goes, I'm the idiot that keeps spamming you on Twitter, but how much I love extra number 0. My wife painted that cover front back, and she was amazed by your inking. I hope one day to be able to show you what she painted.
Oh, I would love to see that. Look, you can always, I'm on Twitter under my name. You can always post it so I can see it.
Post it and tag Jimmy. Say, Jimmy,
tag me.
Right, and listen, look how easy I make it for you, JT. I'll give you 2 joints where you could just tag them and say, hey, Jimmy, check it out. You can tag him on X at J Palmiotti, on Instagram at his full name at Jimmy.
Yeah, JT, you don't have to worry about copyright. She's just copying a piece that exists, so it's okay, man. It's you don't have to worry about that. She's doing her own version of it, and that's pretty awesome, man. You'd be proud of your lady's work. Put it up there. We'd love to see it,
Man, what's going to sue you? Oh, shit, I haven't got nothing going on right now. I mean, and they promise only on my wall. Show it off.
JT, you can put my name on it and just say, hey, Jimmy, and share it with me, man. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, man. Fans, if you're doing some awesome work, listen,
Yeah.
Jimmy's been around.
I had
all that stuff he's been done. I mean, shit.
Yeah, in my career, I've worked with a lot of artists that I've met through the internet where they put their art up and they show me their work, and I hire them. Some portfolios at cons, sometimes online, but if you're an artist, you should always show off your work, because if it really hits somebody the right way, they might hire her one day. And I see she's a fine artist, so yeah, she probably, JT, comic book art is a lot tougher than people think. Like fine art, people paint, modern art, whatever. But comics, you have to draw everything in the world. You have to draw people interacting, people in offices, 2-point perspective of business, of buildings. You have to be able to draw tanks, it's everything. So it is it's a tough art form,
Right there. That's our man, Madness Comic Network. He's working, Jimmy, on a Roku channel for independent creators. But to make it about geek talk, a real channel for real geek, genres, whether it's gaming, comic books, everything, but a dedicated network to us. He's working on this, so hopefully we'll get something going, on that, and have a nice channel where I have a studio, Jimmy, and next time we could do this in my studio. We have a Tonight Show style show. I have a bar too, so we could give you that old school picture when you were behind the bar. You know what I mean? We make everything right. Just make sure you bring that hat.
Oh yeah, man. I'm gonna wear. I think I'm gonna wear this in San Diego.
But
my wife loves John Hamm. If I can get away with looking like John Hamm a little bit.
You having fun tonight? That mean, Jimmy. All right. So before we go, what are the next cons we could see? Because I know this year is winding down, but what's popping for next year? Anything?
Yeah, we got a couple. We got a couple lined up. We're gonna be. First one is the OAX Con in January. That's in Orlando. It's the week before MegaCon, and it's basically a convention that centers around original comic art.
Oh, cool!
So that's Bill Cox, and it's called the OA Expo.
I never heard of that when I was in Florida. That's fucked up.
Oh yeah, man! It's in Orlando. It's got a hell of a lot of artists, and it's only about comic book artwork. So it's original art.
No, you got my heart.
They got guys. They got like Amanda. They got Adam Hughes. They got Kevin Nolan, Dave Johnson. They got all these artists that come into it, and that's my first show. And then after that, we're doing Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle.
All right, ECC, nice.
Yeah, we're doing that, and then I have let's see, Kansas City Comic Con we're doing, and let's see,
Jimmy busy.
Yeah, no, we have a lot. I can't announce some of the other ones because they told me I can't announce them until they're ready to announce it.
No,
but City, we're definitely doing Emerald City, and we're definitely doing Kansas City and OAX in January. So that's the three big ones.
Jimmy's killing it. He got dope stuff coming out, folks. Again, let me show you the socials one more time before we leave, homie. Right there. Keep up with Jimmy on X. All right. Palmiotti, Instagram, Jimmy Palmiotti. My homie JT, just tag him there, let him know what your wife did. And of course, paperfilms.com. Now, we could also buy product here, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, we sell the books, we sell digital downloads, and we have original comic art for sale too.
And there we go. Wonderful Christmas gifts, folks. Your stocking stuffers. Christmas is right around the corner.
I always say the day after Christmas is when you buy stuff for yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But if you want to do this for your loved one in a rush and you're stuck, there you go, ladies or gentlemen or everybody. Right there. Original OG good stuff, all right? JT, he said he tweeted. He tweeted.
I'll check it out after this, JT.
All right, and then isn't it posted now according to Elon? We can't say tweeted, it's posted.
Yeah.
Our language must change.
It's true.
All right. True. Jimmy, you're the man. Thank you again for your time. Thank you guys for tuning in as we learn so much about what's popping with this next iteration of Gunslinger Spawn. Our man Jeremy right there. We're about to learn a lot more, get into some new characters, expanded universe. Thank you, Todd, too, again, bringing this homie on board, because I know He is about to smash this. Oh my God. And JT, yeah, he says, I'm not calling it X.
Yeah, you don't have to call it anything. Call it Twitter for all I care.
There you go. Call it Twatter for all I care.
Yeah, Twatter. Why not? And you can twank on Twatter.
Oh, man. I used to say, are you twatting?
There you go. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Alan. Let's do this again when the book's about to come out, so we can.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, when I had one and I could smell that ink, and you got me.
That's
all
right.
Up, as we start getting into the journey.
Then we'll give away some surprises.
Here we go. Yeehaw, my first. This is Al Mega with the Mission Jimmy Palmiotti. Hasta la próxima. Bye.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.